All right, good morning, everybody. Hopefully, everybody's having a fantastic morning. Today's Wednesday. I get it. I wasn't live yesterday, but we'll do it today. We'll do it today instead of yesterday. All will be fine. Yesterday, Bitcoin had a nice little move back up to the micro strategy. We'll just call them strategy. That's what they call themselves now. Anyways, cost basis and rejected yesterday, but we made a fresh monthly high. So far in the month of April, that's good. That's good. We took out March's high, which is what we want to do if we want to see upside continuation. So now what Bitcoin needs to do for the rest of the week is continue to do this. The one I would be just completely bullish at this point if it wasn't for the dollar. The dollar is literally testing its yearly opening range right now. As you can see today, it broke through there yesterday, but it's testing it again. I expected that you would probably see a little bit of support here as Bitcoin tried to, not Bitcoin, but as the dollar tried to fill in some of this gap that it left behind. Apparently it doesn't want to do that. But we'll see. I mean, today's still young. It's still very early. I would have a bullish bias going into today. If you don't, I mean, it's fine. But in terms of where would you be looking to be a seller, I don't know. I really don't know. You're above the weekly VWAP up here. You're above the daily or monthly VWAP. You're above 4-hour supply. I guess you would want to see this wick right here hold. That would be your daily high. That's your Tuesday close. So that's going to be your Wednesday high up there. I don't know that you're going to get up there. You have a 4-hour resistance right here. But I mean, as long as it's above last week's high, I have to be bullish. That's just what my rules tell me. It's what most analysis will tell you. Any kind of technical analysis whatsoever. If you look at it in terms of what a candle actually is, like it's just where price went. So this is last week's high. We broke out above last week's high. We pulled back into last week's high. And as of right now, last week's high is holding the support. Now, being a buyer here would not be recommended. I said that I didn't even post a buy. I just said if Bitcoin can hold here, then I would be a buyer this morning during the London session open. And this is what it looks like. We traded down to here in London. Put in this, I guess, little trap, if you will. And then so far has bounced. So, yeah, I would anticipate that holds today. But if the dollar gets back above this and starts to head back up into here to fill this downside gap, then you can be bearish on Bitcoin. I just don't know where you would want to try to take that short trade. Like I said, the day high is up there. So if you're going to be short, you're going to have to wait for price to get up there. I don't know if price will get up there. That's what I'm saying. If price is going to break down today because the dollar is going to bounce, I wouldn't anticipate that it even gets all the way back up there. Right now, essentially, you're testing an 8-hour supply zone. So I guess that could be your first primary level to look for short setups. And then your secondary level would be there. And if you're above that, I wouldn't be prone to be looking for short setups today. I would only be long or looking to buy dips or whatever. So yesterday was not a very bullish day. It actually only had that one upside move. So this is where we were yesterday morning. I had a doctor's appointment. That's why I didn't do a live stream yesterday. But we were looking for it to break out yesterday. When we did get our target was hit essentially, but it didn't amount to much. And then Monday, we did a short on Monday, and Monday obviously the short was wrong. I didn't have a sell side bias on Monday, but I try to take a trade every single time I do a live stream. So, the only trade that we had was a short on Monday. That was the only thing that was being set up at the time of the live stream. So we should have been long instead of being short, but we'll see what happens. Like I said, I did not anticipate the dollar would be as weak as it was coming into this week. But what you have to realize is there are a lot of people out there who are bearish right now because of the macroeconomic conditions. I would assume because, the war in Iran and everything else. Like, you've got private credit taking a dump. You've got a lot of bearish reasons out there in the world right now. But if I've been saying for a couple weeks, it's so hard for me to be so bearish right now because everywhere I look, everywhere I look on Twitter and YouTube and wherever, everybody is as bearish as you can be. I mean, Benjamin Cohen, I watched a video of his just yesterday, and he's damn near so bearish. He's got this smirk about it. Like, he's almost, I don't know if that's who he is or whatever, and it was the highest of all time, or at least in the last 15 years. So in a sense, you've got a market that is, I don't know if it's more shorted right now than it's ever been, but it kind of feels like it is. You take into account that oil spiked, that's also more bearish, for the markets, but the markets didn't get super bearish from the oil spike. Like, they should have been a lot more bearish. And then the other day, I saw a guy say on YouTube that, sellers are probably going to line up the bus right here, because if I were to tell you that there is a squeeze on 20% of the oil supply that, controls the world, 20% of the world's oil supply is hemmed up right now with no end in sight, and you can short the S&P 500 at 2% off of the all-time high, anybody would take that trade. That was on Sunday when I watched that video. So this is the data that guy had. Well, one more, sorry. So this is the data that guy had when making that statement, and you can, let me clear this throat real fast. I just woke up. But anyways, this is the data that he had when he made that statement, and I kind of agree to an extent. But now we're here. You're not even 2% off of the highs now. You're not even 1%. Not even 1%. So this is very odd. A lot of traders are on their back feet here. I've been screaming this for a long time on this channel, that people are so bearish. If price were to get any kind of a bullish reversal, you could see a short squeeze of epic proportion. Now, I don't know that's what's going to happen. Could the S&P liquidate these highs and then roll over and then go into a bear market? Obviously, the answer to that is yes. But why would that happen now? Why would that happen now? Why would the S&P be liquidating the highs and then rolling over to go into bear market territory when oil has already dropped dramatically? Like, oil, we were looking for shorts on oil 2 weeks ago, right? We caught this move. We were looking for it, though, right? And I was lucky when I caught it, according to some people. When, no, not really. I was looking for the short for the last 2 weeks before that, because we're optimistic usually on this channel. And optimism would put you more bearish oil than bullish oil, especially at these prices. This is bad for the economy. It's bad for the world with high oil prices or sustained high oil prices. Spiking oil prices don't really hurt anybody for that long. So we got CPI up 1%, but still, like, it's not up magic. Like, here's where we are. Yeah, it's up because of the oil spike. If you look at where oil was at the beginning of the year, starting fresh 2026 in to where CPI is, it's exactly right. It was a very easy calculation for CPI to spike this high. Is CPI spiking? It is. It's going in the opposite direction of their 2% target, that's for sure. And it has spent many years down here just kind of chopping around. And, you know, if oil continues to rise, then CPI would continue to rise as well. Most likely they would have to print. And then obviously this could go insane again like it was back in 2022. And a lot of people they're looking at Bitcoin cycle, the Bitcoin cycle from 2022, talking about how if you were to put, I guess, a fractal on this price action here, they're looking for it to drop way down into here. Like Ben Cohen's target is 70%, and he thinks by having a 70% bearish target that's not a doomer perspective. It's within the norm of Bitcoin bear markets. I would agree with him saying that 70% off is normal for Bitcoin bear markets. You're in a downward moving business cycle. I agree with that as well. However, where Bitcoin is in comparison to this cycle, and I'm not talking about the 4-year cycle, not talking about that at all. I'm simply talking about it in terms of the RSI, like relative strength index. In terms of that indicator, if you look where you were back in 2022 compared to where you are now, you're not in the same place. You're not. It's not even close. Here is April of 2022. In April of 2022, we had 9% CPI, skyrocketing inflation. 9%. Bitcoin was retesting the yearly opening range in April of 2022. And on the relative strength index, Bitcoin had not yet been oversold. Not yet. It was also testing the 50. Look at the cycle now. You were massively oversold down here. What happened in 2022 when Bitcoin got massively oversold? That brings you to right here. Wouldn't you agree with that? So at this point in time, I was bullish. This was the FTX collapse. This breakdown was Celsius, FTX. You had 4 massive exchanges collapse during this last dump right here. That was the catalyst to give you this last puke. I would argue that if FTX and Celsius and them did not collapse, you would not have gotten this last little dump right here. Most likely this would have been the low of that bear market. Well, no exchanges have collapsed yet. And I'm not saying that this is the low. I don't want anybody to think that I'm trying to misrepresent anything, or for anybody to think that I'm an uber bull. I'm not. What I think, all I'm trying to do is essentially let you know that you may be missing out on an opportunity here if you follow the likes of Ben Cohen and other people that have the same viewpoints as he does. That's not how markets work. He can't predict the future no more than I can. No more than I can. So essentially what I'm trying to say is if you listen to him and take his advice, you're not going to buy Bitcoin yet. You're going to wait for Bitcoin to drop some 70%, maybe more, before you start buying, so that way you can look like the smart buyer. I would argue that the smart buyers are already buying. They have been buying. I've been buying. I've been accumulating at 67K because I feel, though, like 67K is the midpoint of this range from the lows that we put in February up to the high that we put in March. So the midpoint of that range is about 68K. So that's what I'm classifying as value, and I'm doing it via an indicator. Yeah, I know. I'm doing it via an indicator called the Relative Strength Index, an indicator that has a 100% hit rate of calling bear market bottoms in Bitcoin. It's only done it 4 times. Bitcoin is a fairly new asset. So, I mean, four times it's a really good hit rate. It's 100% as of right now. There hasn't been any time where Bitcoin hit bear market or had a bear market, hit oversold on the weekly RSI, and then gone on to make a 50% more of a downfall. Like, that's never happened. So for him to say that if Bitcoin was off 70% would be normal, I don't see how he's coming to that. I don't see how he's getting to that analysis. So yeah, I think a lot of people are going to miss out on a buying opportunity. Now, with that being said, Bitcoin could go on and make fresh lows. Bitcoin could reject here. This is why I'm telling you, if you want to be bearish, if you want to protect your long portfolio, I see no reason that's actually smart. That's a wise decision to be bearish here. But if you're waiting to be bullish for Bitcoin to be down at 30K, you're going to most likely miss the boat. The people who hate Bitcoin and want to see Bitcoin die, those people, if Bitcoin's price is being manipulated by people, and it's those people, they will not let price get back above this, because as long as price is under this right here, they have control of the biggest Bitcoin buyer, the biggest Bitcoin bull, which is Saylor. They have him buy the short and curlies as long as price is under this, because it puts pressure on his strategy stock price, and it makes it difficult, or it did until they started using STRC also. And STRC's volumes are up now almost to the point of where MicroStrategy's volumes are. They do not want to see it get back above this. And I think it's not only going to do that, but once it does do that, it's probably going to blast right through that yearly opening range as well. Now, I could be wrong. There's still a lot of headwind risk out there. There's still a lot of headline risk out there. So it makes sense to play this smart. All I'm saying is I don't care who you listen to, who you follow, whose advice you take. Just please understand that they could be wrong. Just like I was wrong when I said macro conditions does not support a bear market with Bitcoin this year in 2025. I said that all year long, knowing that the 4-year market cycle correction could be coming, knowing that November literally is when the market rolls over every 4 years. I knew all of that, and I still was just thinking that since we had the ETF now and you're seeing massive inflows, that most likely the cycle model, or at least the 4-year cycle model, would be broken. We now know that is wrong, right? Or you can say this fell because of the 4-year cycle model, is what I'm saying. I don't believe that's what happened here, but it could be, and it doesn't really matter. But still, people claim that I missed, the biggest short of 2025 and of 2026, which we didn't, because we shorted on 10/10. We took a fresh short position on this channel live publicly on Pengu. We took that trade. That end of that day, we had hit an 80% drop on Pengu. So I actually caught more of a short than anybody who shorted Bitcoin, because Bitcoin has not dropped 80%. Just analysts can be wrong, right? Analysts can be wrong. We know that big businesses are buying Bitcoin. We know banks are buying Bitcoin. We know because Michael Saylor has invented this new capital structure machine around Bitcoin and credit, other people are going to do that same exact thing, especially if Bitcoin does not collapse here this year. And I know Bitcoin is not going to collapse this year, or at least go to zero this year or next, because those guys are buying all of the Bitcoins that the OGs and retail sold last year and this year. Bitcoin has literally been in fear territory for 6 months, not just fear, but extreme fear for 6 months. So to anticipate that a larger bear market move is coming, I think is a little bit wrong. I can't say that it's wrong, because if it does happen, then obviously I was wrong. So I am still holding puts on Bitcoin to the downside, but I am no longer looking for shorts on my futures portfolio. I am positioning for longs. So I don't want people to miss an opportunity, but I don't want people to be dumb either in the way that they take the opportunity. I want you to take slow, small bites over a large period of time, because all of the Bitcoin that are being sold are also at the same time being accumulated. And once Bitcoin is done chopping around, once it starts to advance, those bears will continue to look for the short, because at that point, especially if their analysis and their following is on them about when now, what now, right? And they got millions of subscribers. I have a lot at 8,000 on the YouTube channel, 4,000 on Twitter or X. That's a lot of people. I couldn't even imagine what it would be like if it was millions, right? They're going to have some pressure. I hope they don't continue to short it the whole way up. You know what I mean? I hope at some point they change their bias. I hope at some point they have analysis that will allow them to get back on the bullish side of Bitcoin. And at some point they will get back on the bullish side of Bitcoin, or they'll just try to act as if though, they were bullish down here the whole time, even though they weren't, right? Just be careful. Take small little bits of Bitcoin, buy them, and in my opinion, self-custody them. Don't go the way of the ETF. You do not own that Bitcoin. The person that owns the ETF does. So buy it on exchange, send it to cold storage, sit on it. I think that's the best thing to do. Because once this credit industry breaks through, once it starts to get even bigger, there's going to be new stuff, new technologies built and designed around Bitcoin. Once you have not just one, but say 10 of the world's biggest banks offering credit on Bitcoin, they're going to want to protect it from any threats out there, because they're not going to want to lose their cash money making machine, which will be Bitcoin. That's the way I see it as an optimist, right? As a pessimist, one could say, yeah, but, quantum computing. Well, I'm sure there'll be a fix for that. And quantum computing won't be able to destroy Bitcoin. But we'll see what happens. Take small little bites over time. But yeah, we'll see what it does here. I think the dollar is going to basically dictate what Bitcoin does. I think if the dollar gets back to bearish or starts to break down and has a massive macro move lower, then you're going to see Bitcoin probably get a bid. And then it will no longer be in a bear market. And then you'll start to slowly see that indicator switch back from extreme fear to extreme greed. And then you'll be a buyer at high prices when you could have been a buyer at low or lower prices. That's the way you're supposed to do this. Anyways, moving on. But I mean, I'm not saying that they're wrong, guys, right? That's not how trading and investing works. Anybody can make the right call for many, many years. We're typically on the right side of the market. I've got people right now in the Discord talking about how they bought the quarter open. Quarter two just opened with April. People have bought it. You've got people that are setting long on Bitcoin right now from Q2's open, right above where I started buying Bitcoin, and it's looking okay now. It obviously won't. This is one good day. Well, you're just one bad day of being right back down there. So if it's a trade, I would say take profits. If it's an investment, then just hang tight, because things are probably going to change soon. And the things that are going to change, they're going to change in a big way, because MicroStrategy has continued its process of buying Bitcoin. I would say that strategy has single-handedly stopped the bear market. And now it's got to look to squeeze the shorts. And when that starts happening, my goodness, I don't think Bitcoin's going to do something like this. This was a 3,000% rally. But this did something I have never seen in all my years of being an active day trader. And that's seeing a 12-hour chart be at 99.50 or above. For these last candles here, and here, these three massive big boys, this indicator was pinned at 99.79. That's literally almost as high as it can go. Now, we knew it was going to correct. We knew it was going to pull back at some point, but we just didn't know at what price that would happen. So we took two shorts on this. We got stopped out both times. It's over. I'm done with it. I don't care if it goes to zero now. Right? The money was made through here, not on the short. Shorts can only make 100%. Longs can make 3,000%. There's unlimited risk to the upside. The short trade is not the best trade. And it is definitely not the best trade. I would argue, this is a subjective statement. A short trade is not the best trade on an asset that only goes up over time. And especially when that asset is oversold. Bitcoin has been oversold for weeks now. And the bears had their door wide open. They had a war. They had private credit destroyed. They have software rolling over. They literally had everything they need. They had oil spike. They had an inflation spike. The bears have had everything they need to make this go lower. Everything. The door was wide open for the shorts. And they couldn't break it down. Right here. This is where they needed to break it down. And then if not, then here. And they didn't do it then either. It started to look like they were going to catch it. But Monday came out and surprised everybody, including me. And now here we are. We're at Strategy's cost basis. So now there's not a question about who has control of price at this point. The question is, When is it going to break out? I would have loved to seen it break out. I wouldn't be long the SPY here. The SPY is overbought at this point. I mean, that's crazy. In bear market territory, you have Bitcoin in a bear market, S&P down 9. The fact that it went straight back to overbought, Bitcoin hasn't done that yet. So clearly there's still heavy selling pressure in Bitcoin. So Bitcoin isn't out of the woods yet, I would argue. But I don't want anybody to miss an opportunity like this. You know what I mean? I don't want anybody. I'm not talking about the day traders. Mostly the people that follow me are day traders. We're scalpers. That's what we do. We look for the intraday opportunities. But there are a few of us that like to hold long term. Those are the people I'm talking to. The people that are looking to own Bitcoin for longer than 5 years. Well, if that's the case, and you start buying slowly and with small amounts of money over time, even if Bitcoin does make fresh yearly lows, then you can add every $10,000 price increment lower all the way down to where Bitcoin is 70% off the highs. That's being a smart buyer, not a seller. If you are holding Bitcoin with a decent amount of capital or a huge percentage of your net worth, you definitely should have on some kind of protection just in case that happens. But that a protection shouldn't be a way. You shouldn't look at it in terms of a way to make money. You should only look at it in terms of its protection to not lose all of my money. That's how it should be approached. You should have that delta skewed. That delta skew needs to be on the upside. So you need to skew the delta at the tail end of risk. So that means if Bitcoin were to break down and go to zero, instead of losing all of your money, because it's a huge portion of your net worth, you would simply lose a portion of your net worth. Do you see what I'm saying? If you skew the tail on an asset that isn't a growth asset, if this is your bell curve and you are looking to put on that short to essentially start making money the lower it goes, well, then that means you're skewed now to the short side. So if it breaks out on the upside, then your money goes the wrong way. That's why that put needs to be put on in a way it's only going to protect you from having massive losses and not be to make money on the downside, because you can only make 100% on a downside push, whereas you can make an unlimited amount of money on the upside. And that's how I have my portfolio positioned here, structured in that way. I will not make money on the puts. And if Bitcoin breaks out and becomes bullish before 2027, because my puts expire January of 2027, then I will eat a full loss on those puts. But that loss that I eat would be smaller relative to the gains I made on the upside break. Does that make sense? Okay, good. Now that I got that all out of the way, let's see what happens here. I mean, it's Wednesday, so today is the midpoint of the week. If we look at the weekly candle, you have an upside break right now compared to last week. If you ignore every bit of the data off to the left of the screen and you only look at these two candles, right? Bitcoin is breaking out and moving higher. Yes, there is a lot of potential overhead resistance. We get that. But if you asked me what is Bitcoin doing today up to this point right now, I would have to tell you that this is bullish, not bearish. Right? Because it is moving upward. This weekly candle opened and has been straight up. The unfortunate scenario is it's one day, really. well, 2 days. This is, where is it here? Yeah, okay, so there it is. It's 1 day, really. This is your weekly range expansion. On Monday, you put in the entire week's range. Tuesday, you put in a liquidation move, and then you reject it. So hypothetically speaking, if Bitcoin stays below 74, 468, you can be bearish. You can have on a bearish trade. And I don't even have a line there. Right there you go. Boom. So if Bitcoin refuses to trade above this point, then you can put on that downside protection. If you are a bear and you're just trying to make money, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, yeah, Bitcoin could break down, but it's not what I think is going to happen. I don't know. We'll see. Time will tell. Yeah, we'll see. It looks pretty good here. I'm going to keep a bullish bias as long as Bitcoin is trading above yesterday's low. I have a bullish bias as long as we're trading above last week's high, which we're just barely above it. Just barely above it. So the sellers need to get downside continuation today and a breakdown. Like they need a breakdown, a full-on breakdown. And is it possible that they get it today? Absolutely. Why? Because the dollar is breaking into bearish territory on the RSI again. You're at the yearly opening range. I think yesterday, the reason it broke down yesterday was because so many people were trying to buy the yearly opening range, anticipating a yearly open range retest and bounce. That gave price enough motivation and momentum to continue to push down through that level. So the dollar could reclaim the yearly opening range today and then start to head back to the top side of the weekly range, and then maybe next week look to fill this gap. It's what happens then that I think will be very important for Bitcoin. I don't think the dollar has enough. I mean, it could. The dollar could drop all the way to oversold. That would give you another day, possibly two, of downside to get down there. So, I mean, the short trade could work. It is working right now. It's does that continue? That's going to be the question. But anyways, hopefully everybody's having a fantastic week. Hopefully everybody is having a very good week. Could Bitcoin liquidate the day low? Yeah, it could. I don't know that I would want to be a buyer there because I've already put on long risk. I wouldn't really want that coming back. It looks like it is going to come back here. We're 15 minutes after the bell. A pretty significant downside push here. I'd want to see the buyers step up at some point. The buyers, I think, need to defend this area, and they need to get that breakout. We could be weeks away from a fresh breakout and a yearly open retest on Bitcoin. We could be months away from that. If we lose this area, like I said, if daily res holds, then you can hold shorts from that point. It makes sense to be short from there. If you miss that short, later on in the week, you could always look to add or put on a new short at last week's high. Because if your bias works, Bitcoin's going to go lower anyways, right? It's going to make fresh yearly lows and then get down to 45 and then 30K. So being short at 73,822 makes sense. I don't think that fractal is going to play out because the macro situation or the macro backdrop isn't anything like what 2022 was. Nothing. We don't even have near the inflation numbers that we had back in 2022. And that is with oil bouncing or, spiking so aggressively this year. As I always say, guys, time will tell. Nobody can accurately predict what markets are going to do in the future. Right now, it's still difficult to predict risk out 30 days because the VIX is still elevated. But once everything winds down, I mean, Trump's going to do his dead level best to get that Middle East situation under control. It's a midterm year. It's a bad business cycle. Those two aspects alone could be enough for us to get bear markets. I'm watching Apple really, really closely here because Apple, if it fails to break out above 262, I'm going to have a bearish bias on it. Nvidia has already broken back above its yearly opening range, and you're putting in a continuation move today. I was only bearish on Nvidia as long as it was trading under the February open. Now that it's above the February open, I am no longer bearish on Nvidia. If you look at Nvidia on the daily time frame here, you should have switched your bias from bearish to bullish last week. The weekly 21 EMA or exponential indicator, it's a really good indicator to kind of give you a broader outlook on what's actually transpiring. So this is the week right here that you should have probably been like, okay, something else is up here, because now there really isn't much to stop Nvidia. I mean, it's possible it liquidates that weekly high, which is a monthly high, and then it rolls back over. But you got 15 days and 7 hours left. And you would really want this candle to close as a bearish engulfing, not a bullish engulfing. It's not going to be a bullish engulfing. It's just a trending candle at this point. But it's a big trending candle. Nvidia looks good. This looks like a clean, fresh breakout to me. If you put on, say, this, obviously we need that monthly close to take place. I don't know why this trend line does not work on the weekly time frame, but it does work on the monthly time frame. That's the exact high right there. So why does it look like this? I don't know. It is possible that you get a liquidation here on Nvidia and then it rolls over. Let's turn this into Feb's high, because that's what it is. So we want to see upside continuation from here on Nvidia. Can you have a look at Circle, Coin, and Hood? Yeah. Here in a little bit, we'll take a look at them. Let's go ahead and see who's leading today. Okay, so the sellers are in control of Bitcoin, or sellers are more aggressive today on Bitcoin because you're under the neutral line. So they have everything they need once again. They've got that. And then I'm pretty sure they have session volume profile working against them slightly. They do. So yeah, I mean, this will help sellers if Bitcoin makes fresh lows. If Bitcoin breaks down, all of these longs in here will get stopped out. For me to be a seller today, I would have rather had the POC up here. This red line, I would rather it be up at the top of the daily range and see aggressive sellers in the deltas. You're not that aggressive. You're not trending yet on the aggression. So, I mean, this could easily flip back to bullish. I don't think that's going to happen because the dollar looks like it's trying to pull back. The dollar has been trending all week long. It opened weak and has been weak every day this week. So the dollar could be, an up closing day today. That's why today it kind of feels like the bears will win. But I do want those bears to be thwarted at some point at some price, preferably above the April VWAP. I would love it if they could hold this weekly VWAP, but if they can't hold that, the next place I'd be interested in being a buyer would be back down into the 71k region, which, it's kind of a far piece from here, and that would have everybody bearish again, as this would look like a double top and a rejection, right? But it's got to break back under that before I can be bearish again. With that being said, yesterday bears that were waiting on that double top or that liquidation, those guys nailed a pretty decent short trade. I didn't. I was at the dentist office at that time. Not dentist, doctor's office. I had to make a dentist appointment also yesterday, but I didn't see a dentist. I saw a medical doctor, and it was only for a checkup. All's good. Everything looked fantastic, so we're good to go. Yeah, I'd like to see the buyers pick it back up around the daily 21. That's what I was wanting to see here. We need to move it up here to yesterday's close, 77.40. So let's bring it up where it's supposed to be. Yeah. All right. April, though, for the month of April, looks really good. You've got a nice uptrend here. Right there's your April open. Let's go back to the 4 hour. I mean, you got a beautiful up channel here. So I guess you could look for a channel breakdown. Well, that's not a beautiful channel, is it? You need to do something like this. There you go. That's a little bit better. You could clone that line, put this up here like so. Yeah, there you go. There's your April channel. I know the bulls have been in control of price in the month of April more than the bears have. Price is already confirming that. But if you look at volume deltas, it's also confirming that as well. As the bears were only in control of price through here, right? Well, we need that to be red. So the bears had it here. We'll go ahead and give it, if we gave all that to them, that'd be a little skewed. I'm only looking at the trending data. And so far, they're in control of this. And then the bulls have literally been in control of all the rest. Like, all of this. And then this. So there's your month of April. I would argue that the bulls have had the majority of the volume and price. So we could see a pullback here. It's very, very easy call to make. But we'll see what happens. I would say at any point today, if you start to see heavy bullish deltas, you might want to seriously think about taking profits on your short. But you're not seeing that yet. Not seeing that yet. I would argue this is still nice and bearish. Still pretty bearish. And that's a nasty looking 30-minute candle there. But yeah, there's my habit today. Let's go look at Fartcoin real quick. See what we got going on over there. It is absolutely bananas. There was a big long position, got shook out on Fartcoin, but he only lost 2% of his portfolio, so it wasn't that bad. It was a trade. I don't know if that position is trying to be built back up again, but it was a heavy long position to the tune of like insane amounts of money. Like $50 million or something crazy. I don't see anything that I love here. But if I was going to be shorting something in the crypto world, I think I would want to short a shitcoin that has zero value, zero worth. So Fartcoin looks more like a long here than a short, according to that indicator, just that indicator. Give me a second, I'm not done. Yeah, you're seeing nice build up here of volume. So people were trying to sell that. That's daily res. Let's make sure here, though. Yeah, you're an inside week as well. Okay, this one's tough. So, very choppy. It's a very choppy asset, but you have put in a trending 3-day candle. This candle closes in 10 hours. So today will be the close of this candle. Where this thing closes, if it closes above 28.8, 2088, I would argue that you should be looking for longs on Fartcoin moving forward. But you're very choppy. You're this candle trading inside of this range, and then this is not an inside candle from the last or the previous candle, but it is still inside that. There's not a whole lot I can look at here to get a huge bearish bias. In fact, I would be a dip buyer here if I was looking to trade Fartcoin today. I'm not, but if I was, I think I could be a dip buyer as long as we don't lose this price. If we do lose that price, then I would probably wait to see what happens at the low of day. If we got back down to 4-hour support in this candle, which we have 2 hours for this candle still, so it is possible that it gets down here. I wouldn't necessarily want to be a buyer then, because I would look at this as a rejection, but I would have more of a long bias. I would be a buyer on Fartcoin today more than I would be a seller. Like, it's the same analysis I have on Bitcoin, right? I would be more bullish or looking for bullish positioning than bearish. Now, that could be wrong. I have to keep prefacing this because people have a bad habit of leaving right or wrong in comments as if that has anything to do with successful trading. Yeah, I can be wrong half the time. That's what trading successfully does for you. I can be wrong 50% of the time as long as I have a good risk to reward. I don't understand the obsession. I go through and I see comments like that all the time on so many YouTubers' channels. You're just wrong. This guy was wrong last week. Yesterday he was wrong. It's like, no shit. Grow up, bro. Understand what trading is. You're going to be wrong. You're not going to find a 90% hit rate success strategy. It doesn't exist. If it exists and someone's telling you it exists, run far, far away from that person. Because I guarantee you they're going to want an arm and a leg for that strategy. It doesn't work. Anyways, but we'll see what happens. Fartcoin, like, it would be hard to buy Bitcoin with what I've already analyzed on it. The bears are in control of the deltas. That just means that you have more aggressive sellers today. That doesn't mean that price is going to break down or continue lower. It just means that the sell side has been the aggressive side of the market today. You're still above the VWAP though, so that on a weekly basis is bullish, objectively speaking. So I guess I would want to buy last week's high or whatever level this is. I think it's last week's high. Yes. But I would have a very, a decent stop on it. Like, make sure you're not going to lose a lot of money if you get further continuation lower, because unfortunately the low of day, or the London session low, which it's also the low of day, is down there. So if you break under last week's high, it's going there. So you can just wait to see what it does once it breaks down below that. But when you break down below that, you will be trending lower at that point, and it would be a very difficult long to take. It would be an easier long to take here with a stop like in the middle of those 2 points. Right? And then Farcoin, same thing. Like, I guess if it breaks down below, this isn't last week's high. This is just literally last 4 hour swing high. For upside continuation, you want to see the bulls come in at a higher price. They have the deltas right now. They are the aggressive party. The bulls are. They have the POC on their side as well. And also, at 3 a.m. London session open, the bulls showed up. So now we're just trying to determine who's showing up at New York, the buyers or sellers. So as of right now, the sellers showed up just on the open. They got a nice move lower here. Here at 10 o'clock so far, they have not gotten any continuation yet. This delta does not look like an aggressive sell side delta. If it starts to break under this, then you can say, well, the buyers were in control, but now the sellers have reclaimed that control. But you wouldn't be looking for a sell down here. If you were a seller today, you were watching daily res most likely, and probably trying to get positioned around one of these swing highs, anticipating that that was going to be the high of day. Apple so far not breaking down. Oof. Very choppy open here for Apple. The day traders that are looking at the 221s, the two MMAs, their strategies built around these two indicators. The sellers would have come out the gate looking at it as a short. Obviously, they got stopped out, but it came right back down. This is a higher daily low. So basically what I'm trying to say is, if I had put in a short on Apple at 259.75, anticipating a liquidation above yesterday's high and then a rejection, which that did happen, but the next 5-minute candle pushed higher. If I took a short position based on that analysis, I would have definitely wanted to see a lower daily low. The fact that this stopped right before it made that fresh lower daily low has me very concerned for the sellers. Very concerned. That's not yesterday's high anyway, so I guess it doesn't matter, but on the larger time frame, you still have a bearish 4-hour structure here, but it has been spending quite a bit of time here. And the time it has been here, it looks constructive. It looks like it's trying to break out to the upside. It could still fail. It could still fail, but it doesn't look like it will. Yeah, if you break out above this wick high, which is, I would argue, the top of the range, then you're going to have upside continuation move. All right, let's pull up coin. Well, here, let's just pull up coin. Coin's having a good week for now. You've already liquidated last week's high, so now you're just trying to suss out, are you going to see bullish continuation or a rejection here? Yeah, I mean, could you take that short? Yeah, you absolutely could. I don't love it. I mean, I would have wanted to see a lower high here. It doesn't have to be here, but, you know, I don't want to see a higher high. Whenever I'm trying to take a short liquidation trade and it's a higher high, it is always concerning, right? It's concerning because this thing should have made a lower high for the breakdown move to continue. Like it did here. This was a lower high. It opened up here, pushed up, and then broke down compared to this high. Lower high. The bears couldn't get downside continuation. They couldn't break it down below support, below the lows. And the bulls have run it right back. This doesn't feel like a it doesn't feel like a liquidation style move to me. It feels more like this all was a bear trap. You know what I mean? So, but objectively speaking, yeah, if you fail to get upside continuation beyond 189.57, you could potentially be a seller. I wouldn't keep throwing on a short and getting stopped out, though. I would try to do that as little as possible. So, like, I wouldn't put on the short just yet. I would give it, 15, 20 minutes, see if the sellers show up. Then maybe jump in with them. You can see how, like, literally, this is all buying. Blue stands for buying, yellow stands for selling. So this is going to be seller stop losses. That's why it's only buying up here, not selling. There are new shorts being opened here. They're so insignificant, it's not showing up in this data. Massive bullish deltas here. There's no reason why I'd be looking for this short. All right, I would not be looking for this short. But like I said, if for whatever reason it fails to trade higher than that, you could. What I would want to see to connect that bias to me actually taking a short on it, like what does this need to do before I would even think about shorting it? I would want to see some bearish deltas, right? Instead of this indicator trending to the upside, I would want to see that stop, and then I would want to see heavy, like big red candles, and then I would kind of want the deltas to confirm that heavy selling is happening, and price is also confirming that by going lower with the deltas. But as of right now, you don't have any kind of rejection confirmation. In fact, what you have here is called a breakout. A breakout. You don't want to try to sell breakouts. Just ask anybody that shorted Rave Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday if they will ever sell breakouts again. You know what I mean? I had many people asking me in my DMs over the weekend if we were trading Rave. We took 2 trades on it. We took 2 attempts on it one day and then 2 attempts on it the next day, and after that we stopped. Right? We had to. because it wasn't doing what we wanted to see happen, which was get oversold or overbought and then roll over. It just stayed pinned at overbought as it continued to make, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000% returns. We don't want to step in front of that usually. We want to allow the sell side to show up. You don't have that on coin yet. Let's go look at... I know the other one was Circle, SCRCL. Not SCR, it's just CRCL. This one is showing signs of fatigue today. Makes sense because Bitcoin's pulling back off the highs. At least on the daily chart, the selling pressure is a little bit more aggressive. Same thing. You have a fresh weekly breakout. So that just means you're making a fresh weekly high. But if it's going to be a liquidation failure, you want to see that failure start to happen at some point. Right? Yesterday, you would have wanted to see that happen. But you broke out. Could this be a trap? Yes. And if you take this low out and break down, in hindsight, you're going to be able to tell, yeah, that was a trap. So I guess as long as you're trading under yesterday's close, you could look for short opportunities there. I don't love that trade idea because it opened way higher than that. So you're going to have to the trade just wouldn't be good. You do have heavy sell side pressure here. You have about half of what you ended up with yesterday on the upside to the downside. I mean, if you take that low out right there, it's going to feel like this day breakout was a trap. But if this low stays intact, I think you have to be more bullish than bearish. I would not want to buy in front of these heavy deltas. I would not buy in front of those heavy deltas. And then the last one was Hood, right? The old Robin Hood. Let me make sure that's what you asked. Yep. Coin, Circle, and Hood. Got it. All right, perfect. And this is a big weekly breakout. Big weekly breakout here. Son of a bitch. Why is it always the last one I pick? Okay, yeah, it looks it's got some momentum. It was also oversold, man. I mean, it didn't really get there, but it was so close. This is what I am anticipating happens to Bitcoin in the next week, or this week, or next week. A big, gigantic up move here. I think Bitcoin breaks out above Strategy's cost basis either this week or next week. And then if it doesn't, then I will start to think, okay, this is fishy. Because remember, guys, as long as that is resistance, then the people that want to see Michael Saylor fail, and trust me, there are a lot of them that want to see him fail. Nobody wants massive wealth to transfer to some nobody. Like Michael Saylor was a nobody. He didn't come from money, right? He's a nobody. He had a software business. Microsoft ate his lunch essentially. But Saylor pivoted. Saylor, being the intelligent guy that he is, he pivoted. He saw that his company was doomed unless he did something. I have mad respect for people like that. He could have withered up into a ball and sold his company and, just ran off to obscurity and nobody would ever be talking about him anymore. Just another business that a massive conglomerate gobbled up, right? I like to see competition either exceed or pivot. if it's clear that their business is not going to make money against the giants, well, then pivot that business if it's possible for you to do so. If not, you're going to have to file bankruptcy. But I mean, I like to see it. So mad respect, hats off to Michael Saylor. The fact that he saw something that nobody else did or wanted to. And now, you know, right now it's been a little bit iffy for Michael Saylor since you broke under his cost basis. But it will not be rocky, and he will be a lot more aggressive, and other people will too once that MNAV gets higher. Once that MNAV starts to get higher, guys, people are going to be like, well, he's winning. It looked like it was curtains for him and his business. I mean, let's be clear. This still looks really bad. It's been down here for a long time. Over in here is when I started accumulating shares of MicroStrategy in November of last year. Once again, we've got a prolonged 6-month bear market here, but with no real downside. I mean, not since you hit oversold. You did get, you know, one more leg lower. From 169 down to 100. That's no slack. That's a pretty sizable move. So you did get an extra breakdown on MicroStrategy. And since then, it hasn't done anything. But what do you think happens to MicroStrategy if Bitcoin breaks out and starts to skyrocket? This will too. This will too. So those people do not want to see this price get beat. And they're probably going to do everything in their power to stop it from happening, which means throw more money at it. Because that's all Wall Street can do, right? They have vaults and vaults of money. It's not their money, it's their clients' money, but they use it like it's their money. But I think Saylor gets the last laugh if it breaks out. Starts trending higher, more buyers are going to flock to Bitcoin and MSTR and STRC. And Saylor laughs all the way to the bank as the new Bitcoin OG. But yeah, as long as Bitcoin is struggling under $75,000, it is a massive risk. Because STRC or MSTR is a huge risk to Bitcoin right now. I don't think they are, but other people do. I mean, I think they are. I don't know that they're going to have enough juice to stop this thing now. But we will see. All right, what else? Let me see here. Oil. What is oil doing today? Oil is starting to come off a little bit. I ended up selling my oil short. Not selling it, but buying back into it. Because when I took profits on this day, I ended up taking profits twice. So that left me with a very small open short position up at 110.20 something. I can't remember what it was, like 110.26 or whatever. I can show you exactly what it was. It was right here. Open 110.24. Okay, so 110.24 is where my short was. I closed it because when it was pushing up over the weekend, I only had a $70 short position still open on it. So my P&L literally, once it did this, once I took profits, it never changed. And I don't want to pay the funding fees in sitting in this chop, so I decided to get out of it. We anticipated that oil was going to roll over once it liquidated this swing high. And it did do that. So it does look like oil wants to head lower. Only time will tell if it does or not. And that's Brent crude. We actually need to look at West Texas as well. It's slightly different, but still looks okay. It's a big support level down here. West Texas did not make a lower low, funnily enough. Yeah, you didn't make a lower monthly low yet. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. That looks disgusting. Okay. So West Texas has got to drop all the way back down to $67 to take out the next or the previous month's low. I'm not anticipating that happens in the next 2 weeks, but it could. And then lastly, silver. We were watching silver here because it was doing what Apple's doing now. But on this day, this is the day that we were going to watch to see if it failed for the short. It didn't fail. It didn't fail. We were going to see what happens at April's open. It didn't stop. So we kind of didn't do anything, and then it broke out to the upside. So I'm kind of glad that we didn't do anything. And as you can see, once it broke out above this little area right here, that's when you really saw the squeeze take off. So now the structure has completely shifted. It's still shortable on the 8-hour. It's not a short on the daily anymore, though. And then the weekly, this doesn't even have. Let's pull up just XAG. Oop. Yeah, the structure is too bullish. Yeah, the structure is still too bullish on this to be heavily bearish. I mean, it's holding its own. It's been making higher weekly highs and higher closes every week. So, I mean, it doesn't look like a short to me anymore. It just doesn't look like a short any longer. It could be. This doesn't look or feel like a trap here. Especially because you're getting upside continuation today. So I think the bulls they've taken right back control of silver and gold. And this is going to be because of, in my opinion, dollar weakness. Maybe, right? You needed dollar strength to be a bear on gold and silver. Gold looks very constructive. It looks like it's building in an ascending trend. And that's what it did every single time it pulled back in 2024 and 2025. It seemed like every time it pulled back in those 2 years, it built in a larger ascending wedge and then broke out to the upside. You're doing the same thing now. Ascending wedge and then break out. Over here, ascending wedge and then break out. Ascending wedge and then break out. Ascending wedge and then break out. Ascending wedge, break out. Right? But I mean, it's going to take time. Gold and silver is going to be a choppy trade probably for the next few months. Tesla did put in a bottom so far. The Tesla's starting to look good here. I think the selling pressure that you're seeing on Tesla is coming from people starting to liquidate some Tesla shares to make way for whatever the new ticker is for the SpaceX/X ticker symbol. I don't know if Elon's going to combine them all in one ticker or have two dominating tickers in the US stock market. You know what I mean? So I think some people are just liquidating Tesla shares so they can buy into SpaceX, because SpaceX, I don't really see much competition for them right now. I mean, Amazon has their thing, Blue Origin or whatever, but like, is it competing yet? I mean, it doesn't seem like I hear a lot in the news about it. Like, it sent some girls to space once, but like, it seems like SpaceX is doing a lot bigger stuff. You know what I mean? Like, Yeah, we'll see though. I'm definitely going to buy SpaceX, probably just not at launch or the IPO. The IPO is going to be extremely volatile, and obviously a lot of your big money investors or early investors are going to want to take their money back. So you could see some heavy sell side pressure, but I do and will eventually buy that stock for long-term portfolio gains. I just ain't gonna buy the IPO. It's gonna be too volatile. It'll be fun to day trade it, but it's not going to be investable for a long time. It's going to be the most expensive stock IPO of all time too. But now Tesla's putting in what looks like a bottoming formation on the 4-hour chart only. Daily looks good as well, but still could be a selling opportunity. And then obviously you're trading above last week's high. So as of right now, you're breaking out. This does not look like a bearish breakdown. It just feels like a pullback. I don't know why the bears could not break this down. We should have seen a lot more damage out there, and it just didn't happen. I think a lot of people are off sides, and those people being off sides is going to propel these things higher probably. Let's see where it is in the context of last year. Let's get rid of everything because we're gonna have to start new drawings on it soon anyway. Yeah, I pulled back to the midpoint of last year's range. Decent area to pull back. I don't know that it will be the low. That's a good looking monthly candle. If it can close looking like this or bullish, it would be a really good looking monthly candle. So I would want to be a buyer anytime it pulled back into that area. That is, of course, as long as World War III ain't in full steam ahead, right? Obviously, if you're testing those lows and it's World War III, no, I'm not a buyer. But if the economy looks good and the macro backdrop still looks okay, then yeah. Yeah, I like it. All right, back over to Bitcoin. What's it doing? Okay, well, it looks like last week's high ends up being a decent place to be a buyer. It's the weekly VWAP. It's last week's high. It's confluence, right? You have two confluent levels there. And because this week's range is essentially Monday, you could get a measured move on something like that. All right. I mean, it's all Monday. We gotta clone it. Measured moves don't always work. But yeah, we could be up at 77 by the end of the week if the Bulls win this little showdown today. And that would be a top side channel breakout. But really nothing else, as February's high is the next monthly level to liquidate. So essentially, you don't need to go higher. If the bears are still in control of price, which so many people think that they are, there's no reason for them to go any higher. You've liquidated all of the near-term sellers, so you should be able to just roll this thing over. But if price wants to liquidate more sellers, this is the next price that it's coming to. 79,339. I don't think it's going to get there anytime soon, but it could get there this week, depending on how big the bullish breakout is. If it even ends up being a bullish breakout, the bears could still be in control of this thing. Only time will tell. Good morning, says everybody. Good morning, Bravo. Good morning, Grow Geek, Tom, Pixel Property, Ivan, LMG, Tony the Fish, Janet's Thoughts, Lunar, everybody, good morning. On-chain data shows a new all-time capitulation print at 60K. Last print like that was at 15K. Yeah, I showed you guys last time we were live we looked at only April's data, if you remember. Well, I need the April candle right there. Okay, so if we look at April's data alone and nothing else, and then we pull up the volume profile for the month of April, you can see that the POC is here. So that shifted. It was lower than that. It was lower than that. Yeah, it was down here. This has completely shifted now. Oh, we were looking at March and April. That's what it was. We were looking at both March and April. Sorry. I don't have the March open up anymore. Son of a biscuit. Okay, so there's the March open. Perfect. So looking at March and April's data. Yeah, the point of control shifted. No, this is where we thought resistance would be. But yeah, there's a lot of buildup down here. A lot of accumulation happened here, guys. Always remember this, which it's going to be hard for me to find it. This right here says everything that you need to know, right? Give me 1 second. It literally does, because everybody that's been selling, all of the heavy sellers, the scared people, the fear selling, all of that takes place in bear markets. But what we should have also seen, if this was going to be like a serious cascading bear market, we would wanted to see like not many people accumulating. I don't even know where it is anymore. Right here. Yeah, this thing shows that all the way going into February that your businesses, large corporations, ETFs, and governments across the world have their positions are getting bigger in the pie that is Bitcoin. That means you're selling, they're buying. That's what that means. You're selling, they're buying. You typically want to get on the same side as those people. But like I said, I mean, it could still make new lows. That war is going to put massive headwind risk and headline risk in the markets. So you could see Bitcoin looking really good today and looking really bad tomorrow. A bad headline comes out, all of the upside that has been had this week could get reversed next week. That's the problem with headwind risk and headline risk. A Trump tweet could send this thing right back to the lows, right back to yearly lows. So it's not out of the woods, but I mean, it's definitely at prices I think one should be accumulating. But I mean, you don't have to listen to me. I could be wrong. I'm accumulating it. I want more of it. I want to own as much of it as I can until Michael Saylor has to start selling. Then I don't want to own any of it. When that happens, Bitcoin's going much, 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 much lower. He's literally what's keeping this thing afloat. I just want to see what happens at the weekly fair value gap. That weekly fair value gap. I don't know what a fair value gap is. I think it's the same thing as like an inefficiency or something like that. I know it's an IT or an inner circle trader term. I hate that guy, man. I don't hate him as a person. I hate what he's done. because now I see so many people using those terminologies. I don't know what they are. So I can't tell you if you're right or wrong. I just have to shake my head and nod. I don't know. I don't think I've ever seen Saylor stop downside momentum. He's been wrecked by it twice, though. He's not wrecked. What do you mean wrecked? When did he get wrecked? When did he sell Bitcoin?
You believe the price of Bitcoin will go?
Well, I think it's going up. Like I've said, I've got a 21-year view. And my 21-year view is that over the course of 21 years, it's going to average about 29% ARR. It's going to decelerate.
That's a lot. I don't know that it can do that. I mean, it's Bitcoin. Anything is possible, but that's super high.
Has been growing a bit faster, and it will decelerate to grow a bit slower. I think the past 5 years is like a 37% annualized growth rate. So if it moves from 37% down to 20%, you'll get some blended rate. You'll get a blended volatility. And I think, where are we right now? I think it's oversold. So I would expect that Bitcoin will be much higher by the end of the year.
Higher, yes. But how much higher?
Okay, so at that level of growth, like the 20-year time horizon, what price does that get us to for Bitcoin?
Oh, I think eventually it's going to 20 million, 21 million a coin.
Damn, that's a lot. I don't know that it does that, but I think the risk is too great that I don't own some Bitcoin just in case it does do that. A guy on Joe Rogan's podcast yesterday, I don't know who the guy is, some author, I guess, or he's going to be an author or whatever. And he said, Joe asked him or something, what would you tell your younger self if you could? He said, I forget what the one thing was that he said he would tell his younger self. And then the second thing was buy Bitcoin. I thought that was funny because I think everybody would do that. I mean, you're looking at a $74,000 asset class. I mean, yeah, buy Bitcoin and buy it by the truckload, right? Well, Michael Saylor's been doing that. He's been doing that. Like, they own a huge portion of Bitcoin. Huge portion. So, if he's wrong, price will stay below this. I think we have a pretty good idea of what's going on. You know what I mean? He needs it back above this. We don't necessarily need it back above that, but he does, for sure. And everybody in the world right now that's either trying to be on the right side with Michael Saylor or be on the side of all the other people who are on the other side of Michael Saylor, they definitely needed to stay under this. Michael Saylor can still buy Bitcoin. He can't really sell strategy shares to do it anymore, but because there's been such a massive inflow on his STRC product, as long as he can maintain the payments, the annualized 11% returns or 10% returns, as long as he can maintain that, he can still buy Bitcoin. Like, they haven't stopped him. It's definitely hurting Bitcoin and his strategy share price. But I wouldn't say he's been wrecked either. He went from being wrecked to being a multi-billionaire and being one of the biggest Bitcoin holders. You can't be wrecked and be a massive buyer of Bitcoin. So I'm not quite sure I understand what you mean by when you say he got wrecked. Now, if Bitcoin continues to trend lower and put in fresh year low after fresh year low this year, he probably will get wrecked. That's the reality of the situation currently. I wouldn't say he's been wrecked yet. I would say he's probably sweating a little bit. For sure. But I think he's probably made enough money for his future and his children's future, if he has children, to where, like, they're going to be fine. You know what I mean? That call to start buying Bitcoin in 2020 was the best call he ever made in his life. Right? To continue to do that for the last 4 years might not have been And only time will dictate that. And that's only if Bitcoin collapses. If Bitcoin continues to rally, he's going to look like the smartest man on the planet. Can you have a look at S&P 500? What is this crazy fast rally? Do you believe we are coming to a top soon? No. I believe that the S&P 500 has the potential. Listen, it's overbought, so there probably will be a pullback, right? There probably will be a pullback. But if you break out of this and continue, I think you could see a nasty short squeeze that could last for weeks. I would not be a seller up here. I think trying to sell this is getting in the way of oblivion. Like, a lot of bears are about to see Judgment Day, right? Unfortunately, a lot of bears are about to see something that could be very, very bad for them. I have a short position on this. Obviously, that trade's going to, it's going to most likely be a loser. I mean, it's definitely going to be zero if I don't close it at some point. So, I mean, but it was just a protective position. It wasn't a full-on bearish trade. It was just to protect the long side of the portfolio. But yeah, I mean, this is looking beastly here. If you're still a seller, you're very scared. If you haven't already been stopped out. I would say a lot of people has already been stopped out. And if they haven't, they will be by the end of the month, because there's very few retail traders buying like 3 and 4 month option premiums. Most of them are buying, day, week, 2 weeks out. So they're going to be done. You have OPEX happening this week, though. That'll be for April. Q1 as well. No, Q1 OPEX was last month. Yeah, that's going to be April's. But still, I mean, yeah, anybody who was short coming into the beginning of April, they're in deep doo-doo here. That's a massive rally. It took you weeks to do this. It took 1-2 weeks to do that. 3. You're in week number 3. Listen, guys, this goes up over time. Like, being on the short side of this is usually on the wrong side of this. Right? I mean, you need the credit bubble to pop. You need World War III. You need a catastrophic event to get what everybody was looking for. When most people are bearish, they're talking crap about like a great financial reset and stuff like that. You don't understand. Like, your money will be useless if that happens. The money you make on the short trade would be useless, right? If money is no longer good anymore, or the US dollar is no longer good, your short trade is useless. Useless. But yeah, the shorts are going to be squeezed, it looks like. And it could be a big one. If we were going to continue to have a bearish bias on this, we would have wanted to see this get rejected last week. At the yearly opening range somewhere. This looks like a breakout of the yearly opening range. I mean, that happened post-market, and it's way up. I don't know if that's a legit wick or not. We would have to look at the futures market. It is not a legit wick. I'm looking at the futures market. Hang on. Yeah, that is not a legit wick. That is just SPY wick. It's not on the futures. Yeah, you're breaking out well above the weekly expected range high. Well above it. I mean, you're squeezing shorts right now. You're getting overbought though. So yeah, I mean a pullback it could happen, but no, I'm not a seller. Not anymore. Things could get really fun here for the long side of the trade. I'm going to be continuing to look for bearish oil positions and stuff like that, unless something tragic happens in the strait. I think they're going to work out some kind of a deal. Trump's going to want to get that in the rear view mirror before midterms. Well, I don't know if he'll be able to, but he's going to want to. Yeah, we'll see what happens. I want to short the top for once in my life. Okay, short it. I don't have a level for you to short, bro. Like all-time high. There you go. That's an objective level. Keep an eye on it. If it rejects there, maybe you can be a seller. I don't know what else to say. Yeah. That's not even the all-time high. This is, there you go. That's the level. 696.84 or 697.84. You want to be a top seller? That's the top of the market. I think you would have better luck trying to short today than waiting for that to happen because of where the dollar is and what the dollar has done. Like I said, there's still a massive upside gap here to fill. I think the dollar probably would want to fill at least half of it before it rolled over. But it did liquidate this swing high right there, I think. Let's see, that high is 179, 183. Okay, that's higher than 179. You did get a liquidation of this swing high, and then it instantly rolled over. I would say sometime in the future, we fill this gap, but you don't have to. Gaps do not have to fill. There are probably upside gaps that have not been filled yet on the DXY. You know what I mean? Gaps do not have to fill. Here's a gap right here. Now, you did fill over half of it because the gap did look like this. That's what the gap did look like. And it went right back up and filled half of it and then rolled over. And then since then, price has not been back. So the gap now is only that big. And because intraday, you traded down here to this low, because the market refused to fill the gap, I would say market said, yeah, gap filled. Let's move on. So that gap is probably filled. So the only question is, did the market or does the market think that that gap is filled? If it does, it could continue to go lower. The yearly opening range is a big level. It always is. It didn't stop it here last time. So it doesn't have to stop it here this time either. But we'll see. I mean, only time will tell us what's going to happen. We can't predict what will happen. We can position for what we think is going to happen. But, you know, those positions can be stopped out. So Bitcoin, pretty volatile here. A lot of decision making happening here. A lot of emotional stuff going on. Looked like we were going to see a trending move happen shortly, and then nope, it almost retraced the entire bullish move. So a lot of people are making decisions here. You got bulls and bears. If the dollar holds the open of the day today, which it is, you're trading at the open. If you go Just mark the open of the day today on the dollar, and you can go watch any intraday chart you want. That's going to be the level to keep an eye on today. So if you break down and start to trend lower than that, then Bitcoin and risk probably rips. If the dollar stays above this and heads back to this and then gets above that, then the dollar and risk and Bitcoin probably pulls back. Right? They're not correlated or inversely correlated. They do trade on their own fundamental reasons. So I wouldn't look at it in terms of like a correlation trade or a pairs trade. That's how I would mitigate risk, essentially. I wouldn't even throw on positions until the dollar figures out what it wants to do here. But if you are going to put positions on, then I think you really need to see what the dollar does here. But Bitcoin is a little bit more volatile than the dollar is in the same amount of time. But I still have to have a bullish bias. I haven't seen anything here to tell me I can't be bullish any longer. I would like to see it trending, but obviously that's what all traders want, is a trending market. Be careful shorting tops. Yields and credit rule the market. I would look for a long-term top until both are ready to unwind and head higher. Where, though? What price? What price would be your long-term top? Here or somewhere above the all-time high? Because when you're breaking out above the all-time high, you have no objective levels to mitigate risk from, because you're literally breaking out to all-time highs. I'm just curious as to what price that would be. I think that if yields were going and credit was going lower, the market would sniff that out, wouldn't it? Don't you think that? Like, I could be wrong clearly, but don't you think like the very wise and like huge proponents, like the guys that have the big money, do you think they would be buying if they knew the credit market was about to fall out? Or would they be selling? Price is chaotic and it's unpredictable, and it does things that sometimes we don't understand as investors and traders. It's not really our job to, predict what it's going to do. It's kind of more of our job to see what it has done and then try to get on the side of the people who have been right. You know what I mean? That's more of what a trader's job is. You're a risk manager, essentially. Could this just be a rip your face off rally, right? Like there was so much retail short positioning built up in the system that it just could not go lower. Yes. Yep. And this will not roll over until it gets a huge portion of that out of the market. So once you've dumped all those positions, once you've cleared out open interest, then the market could theoretically roll over and then come down here and take these lows out. But I definitely don't want to be a short seller while the short sellers are providing the upside liquidity. I would rather be a short seller once price starts to confirm that the short sellers are correct. Right now, price is saying they are not only wrong, but they are wrong in a big effing way. The last 3 weeks, this thing has been just straight ripping. No pullbacks. Not really. I mean, this is a red day, but that's after a huge gap up. You pulled back on an intraday basis and then right back up. This was like the only pullback that occurred. I guess you had one here too, but ignoring this day and this day, because these 2 days were just straight chop. Right? You didn't get an upside continuation. You didn't really get a pullback. You didn't get anything. Just both those days are chop. This is your expansion. And then, unfortunately, the expansion occurred pre-market here on this day. And then expansion. And the sellers, this is what they could do. They got it down 9%. It's not even 10%. At no point did the S&P 500 ever even get close to reaching bear market territory. Bitcoin, however, has. So Bitcoin is still acting like there's a tremendous amount of risk in the system. And we're still in a negative business cycle. And like I said, there are macro reasons to be concerned. But price is king. Price is king. It dictates the winners and the losers. And right now it is definitely saying the shorts are wrong. Could happen. Smash the like, says Matthew. I would appreciate that. Trump is a clown. I can't disagree with you sometimes. Posting pics of him being, that's definitely clownish for sure. Nobody should ever compare themselves to a deity, especially the deity. You know what I mean? You are grumpy today, Trump fan. I'm not grumpy, bro. I'm not grumpy at all. This is just it's just me as a person. Kramer's take on RH back in 2021 has been correct, largely. Younger generation has flocked to the platform over traditional brokers. I don't know what RH is. Yeah, I don't have a take on that. Do you have any positions today? I'm long Bitcoin. Keep us updated on the SpaceX, please. I will, but I don't know much about it. There are YouTubers out there that do know a lot more about what's going on with Tesla and SpaceX and all that stuff than me. I am mostly a crypto price action guy, not a macro guy. Not a macro guy. Yeah, no, I think you would be better off following somebody that is more tuned to stock picking, as they're going to follow futures earnings projections and things like that, and they're going to be on top of looking for stock picks to win. I'm just a trader, a price action trader. I don't really care about the macro. You almost need an education to understand economics because of what, years and years of the system has done to it. The earlier ways seem to work better than these ways, but obviously the way things are now was set up for growth. The civilization, the world has so many more people on it nowadays than back then. So I don't know what system is the right one. It's the system we have. So being a price action analyst is all I need in order to maximize my lifestyle. You know what I mean? All I need to be able to do is to be half right on future positions. If I'm half right, as long as I can keep a 50% win-loss record, as long as I have a 2-to-1 risk to reward, math tells me that over time I will be successful. So that's all I need. You know what I mean? That's why I don't try to get too bogged down on the macro. But knowing some of the basic fundamentals are a good thing. At least knowing how money works is a good thing. what money is. It's just a tool. It's a trading good. It's a bill of sale, so to speak. You know what I mean? You trade your work for dollars, and then you in turn trade those dollars for food and services. It's just a tool. It is nothing more than that. You can't take it with you when you die. You can only leave it to your family. Yeah, it's a tool. It's a tool. Capital markets, free markets, I love them. They're fantastic. They're the one proven way for people that are broke and poor to get out of poverty by investing. New York City has buildings stretched to the sky based on this stuff, and anybody can get involved for now. Anybody can get involved if you're a citizen. But yeah, S&P does look like it's bogging down a little bit today on an intraday basis. I kind of get grumpy when I feel like I guess I was a little grumpy at the beginning of at the beginning of the live stream, specifically talking about fractals and things like that, because I don't believe they work. I don't. I simply don't believe they work, because I think that, I understand that markets are traded based on what's happening in the world right now, this second, and what those people are projecting the future will look like. So I don't see how fractals could even work because of that right there alone. Secondly, the data that brought forth that fractal, for instance, is completely different than the data that we have now. This is why correlations break. You know what I mean? Why you shouldn't be too heavy into correlations ever, because the dollar correlation to risk and inverted correlation, it breaks. You know what I mean? From time to time, they will be completely separate, or they will be completely correlated. It's things change, essentially. And because things change, it's hard for me to see how going back and getting that fractal and throwing it on where current price is, and that paints a picture in people's heads. And in my opinion, these are all opinionated statements. In my opinion, that's not good, because essentially you're stopping people from potentially doing good. You know what I mean? If you're predicting this massive bear case, and then people see it over and over and over from many different creators, and they get confirmation that people like it because they're clicking like and things like that. It's like this back feed that, people are always going to be wrong in the future. It's a coin flip. It's always a coin flip. I wish, I don't know. It's all good. I don't even really care, to be honest with you. As long as my community is on the right side of the market, I really don't care. I don't. It's fine. It is. It's good. All right. What's Bitcoin doing now? Still nothing. Yay. Yeah, Euro's doing nothing as well. Let's go look at a couple Forex pairs real quick. Let's get over here. Let's get rid of this thing, because this thing has decimated traders. I didn't even know that it went almost all the way to $20. Last time I seen it was this wick right there at $12.63. So yeah, I mean, this thing has destroyed many people, many sellers. I want to go look at Aussie yen real fast. It's going back to highs here. What's dollar yen doing? Dollar yen may be building in support. Dollar yen is literally, there's too many there's too many unforeseen circumstances that can happen for dollar yen right now. We know the yen is extremely weak, but we also know that the BOJ has stated that they will intervene at some point. I thought we would see investors start to reposition for that, but they haven't yet. So I'm kind of wondering what's going on there. So I'm kind of staying away from this until we get some kind of, until we get some kind of signal that the BOJ has intervened. Or until then, I think it's a little bit of a risky play. And we don't know at what price they will intervene either. And we're only going to know after the fact anyway. So I think I'm just kind of basically waiting on after the fact to be a trader of USD JPY. But for dollar strength and for dollar weakness, we can look at other things. Maybe, well, right now it's kind of difficult. So obviously my Aussie dollar trade is no longer working because the dollar rolled over. But I took profits on it, so all's good. I closed it out down here. I kind of thought I was going to get stopped out because we had that double top on the dollar. And then oil fell. And then I was like, okay, yep, time to get out of Aussie dollar. So this is no longer a trade for me. As long as gold and silver are recovering, Aussie dollar can continue to rally, especially if the dollar breaks down. But the Aussie is not part of the DXY basket, so Aussie dollar itself doesn't necessarily have any negative implications for the DXY, whereas euro and pound do. So I can see why euro's being bullish. It's at least getting back to where it was before oil broke out extremely heavily. Brent crude specifically, because that's going to be XBR USDT. I keep getting that mixed up for some reason. Oh, what is going on? So yeah, as long as this is heading lower, then maybe euro and pound do better. So that's, ooh. No, I do not want to close those tabs. All right, pound dollar. Yeah. We got old levels to delete here. Yeah, missed out on a nice multi-day rally there. There are some major levels of resistance coming up here. Euro has already broken back above the early opening range. So it might start to find a little bit of resistance. There's an old daily supply candle there. It held the close of yesterday. No, it didn't. It closed a little bit above. No, it was below. And today you're kind of chopping. Okay, so we can go look at this on FXCM or Oanda and get volume data and see if euro dollar is a sell here. It's almost overbought, not quite. And that's a gap fill. So you're actually trading into supply here. It doesn't really look good for a short because you're already seeing upside continuation on this downside break. Maybe if it liquidates the high of day and then rejects, your selling pressure is stronger than the buying pressure. And it doesn't necessarily mean that the sellers are going to win, but at least they are more aggressive today than the buyers are. So right there is your day high. So if you refuse to trend above one spot, 18018, we could look for a short on euro for a scalp tomorrow, not necessarily today. We could put it on today, but I think it'll be kind of choppy as price is not confirming the pressure. Your POC is also in the middle of the range, so that's not very helpful. Yesterday's POC is up here. That's kind of helpful. So yeah, there's your liquidation right there. So essentially you would be looking to put that short on now if it continues to fail, right? As you just made a fresh day high liquidation. So I would be watching the very small time frames here to see, what this thing does. The good thing about Forex is you can go real low if you wanted to, right? As long as you're trending, making fresh high after fresh high, there's no point in putting that short on. We can wait for that. See if we start to see any heavy selling pressure. You're not going to see really heavy selling pressure on these very, very tiny time frames like this. But what you would want to see is like a pretty heavy rejection at some point. And then resistance to build in. And if that starts to happen, then you can put on a short. That is if you have a bearish Bitcoin bias, then you would also have that bias on euro, because you would be anticipating that the dollar is going to pull back, right? Like it's oversold. So it's time for a small bounce. You know what I mean? And since Bitcoin really isn't providing that sellable opportunity or a really clear short trade, you could hypothetically, because the euro is providing that for us here, right? It's not providing a good setup. I'm not saying that this is going to be a short. I don't know what it will do. But what I'm saying is it is at least testing an objective level that we can mitigate risk from. If price refuses to close higher candles above this point, we can put the short on. Do not get chopped up though. So what I mean by that is if price does something like this, right? For, I don't know, say an hour, then don't keep getting stopped out of it. Don't just keep trying it and keep getting stopped out. Just be patient and wait for, that obvious rejection or what you anticipate an obvious rejection looks like. Then put the risk on. Give yourself some room. Make sure your position size is not too big. And then if euro pulls back, right, you'll make money. If it doesn't, you'll get stopped out. Wham, bam. Thank you, euro dollar. All right, is pound dollar setting up or not? FXCM. Pound dollar is actually showing us that the bulls have reclaimed the aggressive stance. but I do like where the pocket is. At least you have not liquidated the high of day. So the reason we don't want to force the issue on the euro, like, or get chopped out or get chopped up, right? Like, we don't want to keep trying to short it if it's trading above our objective level, because if it is trading above our objective level, that could indicate that price wants to go higher and liquidate a higher objective level. Like in the pounds case, it looks like right here is yesterday's high. I don't know why this indicator has a gap above the high. It should be right dead on the high. I'm going to dismiss that as midpoint, Garbo. So yeah, if it's trading above this, then it's coming to here. And then that might be the better level to watch on pound. And once again, that is only if you anticipate a pullback, because it has been rallying for several days in a row. 8 days in a row of up, 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 up. Higher highs, higher closes. So we don't really want to step in front of that. Where is the yearly opening range on the pound? Right here. So we're way above it here as well. So sellers could have been looking to put that short on there, right? As price trades back up into the yearly opening range here, momentum gives it a further push and then it rejects. So sellers started operating right here on this 30-minute push back up into the level. You had sellers put shorts on stops high of day. And then it came back up early into here. Same scenario, people selling, stops probably above the high of day. Gap down, but yeah, it really kind of did it. It looks like it liquidated the lows here. Because this happened on the open and the way the spread works on a lot of these things, that probably did stop out anybody that had stops. Like any longs, anybody that bought this and had a stop down in here, this probably did stop them out, because at the open, this spread could have been super wide. It stops those people out and then rallies and then stops out these high days. Now you're seeing continuation. So it wasn't just a liquidation. It's legit buying pressure. It's legit demand that pushed this further, and momentum. So with that being said, this pullback does not look like a sellable opportunity. It looks like the pound wants to break out and continue to go higher. So don't get chopped up looking for shorts here until you get that failure or that exhaustion. All right, you want to see buying exhausted. And it could be later on in the day or in the euro case, because the pound isn't even testing the level yet. Whereas euro is legitimately breaking out. So as long as it's trading above that price, it could be headed up there. So one could wait for that. Euro did the same thing. It put in like 8 straight days of upside. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it's very, very strong right now. And then if we look at the monthly, where is the next monthly level to liquidate? It's way up there. And then that becomes the next threat. Near term high month close. One spot 18510. You're likely going to see resistance here as well. It's not the high month close. It's just the near term high month close. So we'll just put high month close. Well, we'll just put HMC. That lets us know what it is. It's monthly res, right? Monthly resistance. So there are levels of potential resistance, but I mean, at what point do you stop being a bear? That's, you know, that's what gets retail into trouble. They don't really know when that should be. I would argue right now, you don't want to be a bear because the technicals are not bearish. They are bullish. You're above the 200 and that is not bearish. It was bearish down here. So if you look at this as like a long-term trend indicator, clearly your longer term buy indicator was actually struggling a little bit, but you could never really get that downside break with any continuation. You did get the downside break here, but that only lasted one day before the buyers picked it right back up. Then the sellers tried to break down again, only this time it set in a higher low, and then the buyers picked it right back up, and then another higher low, buyers picked it right back up. So it doesn't feel like it's a short anymore, right? It feels like a longer term, the longer term bullish trend here is still very much intact, right? Kind of. It does to me. It does to me. Like, you're no longer bearish on the year either. As long as you're above the yearly opening range, it's up on the year. So it's not a great bearish setup, but it could work for like a pullback only. So you got to be quick to take profits. So the very near term levels to watch here and here. We can get rid of daily supply. It's no longer relevant as it's not really helping. So this could be a trap, right? Because it's a fresh day high. So maybe wait for that signal. For anybody that doesn't understand what a trap looks like, I will show you real quick. So my up close candles are white. Oh, it would be no different if it was green, but a trap would look like this. Like you close above the obvious resistance like that, and then the next candle or the next two candles, you want to see this high right here kind of be the high. So when the next candle opens, you would want to see something like this. And then you want to see this candle close either like this, or it can close like this too. But then the next candle that opens has to be the one that gives you the lower expansion. So it's a clear level, but price builds in a trap. I wouldn't be looking for a trap if this candle closes like this, right? Then it's not a trap. It's probably a legit breakout because you're literally stopping shorts out right now as we're speaking right now. So that's about a midpoint move. So this is about where I would want to see the seller start to show up. There's 4 minutes left on this 30-minute candle. That's only if it's a trap. We don't know. We never will know. So wait for this candle to close. Let it set the high. And then wait and watch the next 30-minute period. And if you do make a higher high, you don't want to see it be a big higher high. It just needs to be a little bit higher and then back down. Then you could potentially try to put that risk on, right? If that gets stopped out, give it a little bit more time. But if this is a trap, then it should start to roll over soon. Bitcoin is kind of saying, yeah, right? Like Bitcoin is kind of saying, well, the bulls don't have it yet. Because Bitcoin isn't mooning right now. It could later, but because it isn't doing it right now, I would feel a little bit more confident that maybe this is a trap. I don't put positions on this late in the day. Right? Because at this point, your trade has happened. The biggest chunk of daily volume has already been thrown down. And given how this reacted at the lows, I would assume that the biggest chunk of volume was bid volume. But there are a lot of people who do trade all day long and into the Asian session open. The Asian session open could liquidate this and then roll over or something. Like it's hard to say what's going to happen, but we got 1 minute, 52 seconds left on this close. We'll wait and see what happens. If Bitcoin does hold support and starts to rip by making higher highs and higher closes, then I would say Euro continues to make that push as well. But they're not correlated. I'm only using it to kind of help you get a setup, or at least a setup to watch. If I was going to trade the Euro, that's what I would be looking for. So now that you know what I would be looking for, you can yourself watch for that for later today. If you're right and you do get a move in your direction, take profits. Do not be greedy. Do not look for a nasty drop. Just look for a 2-to-1 risk to reward. Take profits, and then you can move your stop to break even, and what happens later doesn't matter. You already took the risk, you took your money. Game over. Game over. Yeah, Bitcoin looks like it is very much struggling here. Don't like that. But it could take all day. And then again, it could drop. I could be absolutely wrong. The sellers could be in control of it. They have had, but this aggressive it's not really aggressive at all. It actually looks more like there just isn't any volume trading today. Because you're not seeing a trending move yet on deltas. If you break down, if price makes this new low, and then you probably will see that bigger move lower. All right, we got that candle closed. So basically this high should be respected. If this candle trades up and just gets a little bit higher than this high and then falls back in line, I would still be putting the risk on at the open of this candle. Right? Because then at least the closer you get to this candle closing, if it's back at the open or close to the open, you could put the trade on and use that high to mitigate risk. 1% of your account's balance, or 0.5%, or 0.25%. You know what I mean? If this is a trap, we want to see this low get taken out at some point, whether it's this candle or the next. And Bitcoin is currently breaking under, so there you go. You're going to get a new low of day. That still does not mean the euro trade will work out. And in my experience, sometimes when you're looking for 30-minute traps specifically, sometimes it's not the very next candle that confirms the trap. It could be 2 candles later or even 3. Because this is an 11:30 open. It's not an hourly open. Right? If it was an hourly open or an hourly close, then I would be looking for the hourly trap. But it was a 30-minute closure. So this candle can close, as long as it's under the open, that's fine. The next candle is going to open a little bit lower, and still you want this high to be respected at some point. And then the trap trade is still valid. Depending on where your stop is would dictate your target profit. So essentially what I mean by that is depending on if you put your stop up here or just right here. Like this stop width should be no more than 1% of your total account's equity. So as long as you're going by those guidelines, then your risk to reward should be no more than 2. If your stop is wider, it's still just 1% of your portfolio. Obviously, your take profit target's going to be a little bit wider. But I wouldn't be anticipating something like this, right? Like that's not even within the realm of possibility. Your average true range will give you about what the daily range and anticipation should be. It's just ATR, or average true range. It's a really good indicator. Once you fully comprehend markets and what's going on, you will understand that relative or not average true range is a very, very good indicator to look at to get daily range expansions. 791. So if we go back down into an intraday time frame and look at 790, or we'll just call it 800 from here, as that's where your trade would be from, that would be like max target profit. It's going to be huge. Yeah, I would not even anticipate half of this. But that's what is possible, I guess. Now, the open has already happened. It happened at 1700 hours. So it's been pretty choppy, right? It's whenever you do that, that's when traders are getting chopped up. Directionally biased traders are getting chopped up. It doesn't matter if you're a bull or a bear in this day range. If it does that all day, you're just not going to win. But so far, so good. Bitcoin has not liquidated the day low yet. That's what I'll be interested to see what it does. If it liquidates that day low, obviously I'll be out of the trade. I got long this morning right here. So this thing is literally gonna be stopped out if it makes a fresh day low. Then I will potentially look to reposition for longs tomorrow, depending on what today does. I might be able to look for longs later on today, depending on what price does. But I don't like that it's doing this late session. That's the thing that I don't like. Like the bulls have had an open door all morning and the reason that they're struggling is it's a light volume day. It's a light volume day because people are watching to see what the dollar does down here. Like, the dollar and oil have been leading the markets for a while, for the last several weeks. They still are. They still are. We were choppy the end of last week. We opened up hard this week, coming out of the gate swinging. But it makes sense that we see a little bit of sidewaysness. The weekly range expansion has already occurred, and it's occurred to the downside. There's 2 days left. I don't think that you're going to retrace this full weekly candle. I think you could see a retracement as high as like the midpoint or the 618. So the midpoint's up here. Right here's the 382. So I would be okay being a dollar seller anywhere in this area tomorrow or even Friday potentially. So far this week, I have not been accurate. Monday we got stopped out, and I didn't really trade yesterday because I had a doctor's appointment. Yeah. So far this week, not very good. It could end up being a red week for me this week. And I'm okay with that. Because I know those don't happen very often. We'll see what happens. All right. Anybody else? Any other questions? Kramer. Yeah, I don't remember what that is. It's hard for me to think that the Bitcoin would get that close to liquidating the day low and not do it. But it could. Yesterday or the day, but what was it? Monday? No, yesterday we were talking about these things. No, I don't think it was yesterday. It was this day. It was Monday. Monday was the last day I did a live stream. So Monday we were talking about, Farcoin put in an absolute beautiful bear trap down here. See, this was the prior day's low. See how you closed that 30-minute candle under it? So pretend that we're talking about the same thing as we just talked about with the euro. See how the Farcoin put in this 30-minute trap, liquidated the prior day's low. One 30-minute close under, the next 30-minute candle open, pushed a little bit lower, not much, just a little bit, closed up. It wasn't until the next 30-minute period that you actually pushed back up into the trap candle's high. And then this candle flat out took it out. And then boom. So that's what I'm looking for here on the euro, right? This is the trap candle, only it's not the prior day's high. It's the current day's high. But it's still a daily high nonetheless. Same scenario. But it might not be this candle that takes out the low. It could be the next candle. It's also late in the session. But that was also late in the session. As that took place at 11:30. What time is it now? 11:30. So this is a valid short setup. We would call this a reversion trade, right? We're anticipating the euro would revert to the mean. It's had 8 days in a row of expansion. So we're just anticipating a slight correction to revert to the mean, not a full-on reversal. We're not looking for a downtrend. We're looking for the uptrend to continue, but price to revert slightly. It's a counter trend trade. Counter trend trades don't work out as often. you would be better off looking for this play, but for the up move, right? Let's see. Was Fartcoin? Fartcoin was sideways, but I mean, I guess you could call it an uptrend because there's your April open. So were we making fresh monthly lows or fresh monthly highs? Well, there's your monthly low. It was made literally on day one, April 1st. And then it was also your monthly high until this day. Bam. Then you made a higher high. Did you make a fresh monthly low yet? No. Okay, so you're still trending up for the month of April, right? Yeah. I would say, yep, that is true. That is right. It is consistent. So for the month of April, Fartcoin's been in a sort of an uptrend. So the trend trade for Fartcoin would have been to get long when that trap was built. That's the difference between the Euro trap trade and the Fartcoin trap trade. On Euro, where it's a counter trend trade. Oh, yeah. Just keep that stuff in mind. It is little tidbits of info that can help you on your trading journey. SPY at all-time highs. Did it get it? Almost. It is so close. So very close. What did Apple do? Did it break out? Oh my God. We should have bought Apple. We should have bought Apple this morning. There's your breakout. Should have been long Apple instead of Bitcoin. Would have been a very easy long to take. And it was a 2% rally. So that would have been our profit target. Bam. Yeah, my bad. Yeah. My bad. And this could continue to trend higher for the rest of the year. I don't know if it will. They got earnings coming up at the end of April. I mean, this could be a false breakout too. We'll have to see how it closes, obviously. But that would have been a beautiful day trade scalp, even though, I mean, we looked at it. It was just, we didn't get positioned on it. Yeah, bears got smoked, man. Yeah, we should have bought Apple this morning. It would have been an easy pre-market long to take if you would have been watching 4-hour support. And you know that 4-hour support, it could be coming right in at the 50, right along the 21 exponential. So you would have just been watching literally this price. So you would have bought it here and put your stop there. And you never really got threatened. Well, that stop happened. You would have gotten threatened. Your stop would have been there. You would have got stopped out. Yeah. We would have got stopped out, I guess. So it really wouldn't have mattered. I guess we could have bought it at the open. I was looking for the pre-market opportunity. Yeah, the pre-market opportunity got smoked. Looks really good. Huge bullish aggressiveness here. Yeah, we should have been long Apple. I'll be live again tomorrow for the public because we were unable to do the Tuesday live stream, and I want to do 2 live streams for the public. So just because we'd missed a trade today does not mean we will miss one tomorrow. Or I was just already long before we came live. It is what it is. If Bitcoin rallies, I would anticipate the Euro trade getting smoked. And that's about it. Let's go look at Nvidia. Nvidia is breaking out. So can't do anything there. We might be able to do something on Tesla tomorrow, maybe, as theirs March is open. So I would not be shorting this. I guess you can if you want to, but damn, you're shorting into intense bullish momentum. Just be careful. What's up, Nick? How you doing? XRP long. Says asking. Jury Affairs is asking. So it looks good. It looks like it's trying to take out last week's low. But, I mean, Bitcoin is struggling to stay up today. XRP looks good. XRP has bullish volume. Look at that beautiful 50 test on the daily, man. It's literally picture perfect. 4-hour bear trap. Yeah, XRP is going up. Looks good. It looks like it's going to take out last. I wouldn't buy it right now, no. Would it have been a long this morning? Yeah, right here. Wait for the close. Buy the close. It's the trap candle. Now, no, there's no trade for a long. Not now. No. If you would have been really lucky, you might have caught that, but it would have been a hard trade to catch, dude. I don't see a trade setup that I would have taken here at 9:30. Yeah, maybe there. We could have maybe watched 30-minute rets for. I don't know. This is concerning for an upside continuation move, but I mean, it won't be if it doesn't get continuation. But it looks good. It looks like it wants to take out last week's high. It already took out last week's high. 3966, 3966. It's a double top. Yeah, I don't like these heavier deltas showing up here. But the close is going to be what counts, so if this spikes all the way back up to here, it may still get up there tomorrow. Yeah, I can't call that a trap either. I mean, there's heavy selling pressure here. I feel like those guys would have been stopped out. The sellers are probably putting risk on right here, right now, on XRP for a downside break. I mean, I definitely don't see a long setup, but I don't know that I could take a short either. I wouldn't be putting on a trade here at all, really. It's just too late in this session. The buyers were right. At 9:30, they bought that dip. They still haven't even gotten a 2% move yet. So it's not a big move for XRP. Looks like sellers are jumping on it. It looks good. And since SPY is ripping to the upside, since Apple is ripping to the upside, since Tesla is ripping to the upside, it feels like it's more risk on than it is risk off out there today. So I kind of still like Bitcoin up, and I will all day until I eat a stop. Which it hasn't done. Euro is still chopping. Excuse me. Oof. Looks like a trap, but I mean, this was a good looking close, and then you got upside continuation. I don't like where the POC is. I don't really like where the deltas are either for a downside trade on silver. Yeah, I mean, the daily's too bullish. But it does look like sellers have got it right there about daily supply here. Yeah. I wish that POC migrated higher. It tried to for a brief moment in time. If this could hold, like if you couldn't close any candles back above this, I might be willing to try to take a short and target like 78.53. But obviously that trade is no longer going to happen. I don't know that I would put it on late session. I would have been able to put it on if I would have been looking for the similar setup as we were looking for on Euro. But I wasn't even paying attention to it when that was happening. I mean, if the dollar bounces, Euro will fall. If the dollar fails, then Euro will rally, right? These do trade inversely to one another, Euro versus the dollar. They're not 100% inversely correlated, but they to the tune of about 52 or 57%. We'll see. Hi Heath, what is the volume indicator that you have on the bottom of your charts, please? That's called a cumulative volume delta. Essentially, like if I'm going to take a positional biased trade, I kind of just want the deltas to basically be on my side. The trades don't always work, but it just kind of helps me see who's mostly aggressive and is the buyers more aggressive or are the sellers more aggressive, and is price also showing us that? It's not really a confirmation, it's just if they're both matched up, then I can look for that trade in the direction of the trend or at an objective level. But it's called the cumulative volume delta right there. It's right there, and it looks like it is a trading view indicator because there's no name next to it here. That's it. So essentially, I don't want to short things. Like, so if you look at Apple and you look at the cumulative volume delta, it's literally up and it's trending up, and Apple is trending up hugely. I don't want to sell that because experience tells me that this thing has been so bullish all morning that it could continue to grind higher for the rest of the day. Right? And then even if I do get lucky and get a trade-off on it, at best, I would only be anticipating it does something like this. And then the day's over. You know what I mean? So there's just been so much aggressiveness here and price as well. It's not a short. But if you look at Bitcoin, you see how it's under neutral. It's not trending yet, but neither is price. But price is struggling, right? It's struggling to break out to the upside. This bullish indicator here is suggesting that for the weekly range, the buyers were more aggressive out the gate, but prices come back in tune or in line with it. So now you're kind of sussing the weekly directional move out. So if this was trending lower, I would definitely not try to buy the dip. You know what I mean? But because it's just doing this, it's that indicates that the sellers are more aggressive today, but it's on light volume, very light volume. So for whatever reason, it's like the longs just aren't participating at all. But it doesn't always work, because here's a perfect example where you have a massive spiking bullish delta that ultimately did get faded. That's why yesterday I kind of was anticipating a breakout. I was anticipating continuation, but the sellers did show up and they did get a pullback. So, I mean, they even got a fresh day low. That was your daily low until right there at 2:30, you got a fresh day low. So had you faded this liquidation move, it would have been a scary trade to take. You know, it did work. So I'm not necessarily using it as an end all be all. Just kind of using it to help gauge who's the more aggressive person on the day. I can even use it like for the range, for the monthly range, depending on who's been more aggressive throughout the week, throughout the month. And so far, like, the trade for Bitcoin for me, based on the indicators and everything I'm looking at, is still an upside trade. But the sellers, they have everything they need today to kind of get fresh day lows. They haven't been able to do that yet. Last week's high is right here. And as long as price is closing candles above this, then you're still trending. You're trending to the upside still. You start closing candles under this level, then the weekly breakout has stalled. You see what I'm saying? So as of right now, the weekly breakout has stalled and the sellers are more aggressive today. So it seems like we would see a low of day. Or a fresh low of day. But because the volume is so light, if you see a big spike in bullish volume, like back into positive territory, most likely that would set support. We never really got that. I mean, we kind of did right here and here, and then the bears showed right back up. You see what I mean? Big bullish spike, and then bigger bullish spike, but then they disappeared. So very choppy, very light volume, very boring ass day. It's a very good indicator to kind of help gauge bias, or at least look at and be like, no, right? I know right away I don't want to be a seller on XRP, but it looks like they're starting to take it. You know what I mean? Like it is starting to top out. So could it be a short? Yeah, it could. As long as 1.3805 is held, you could hypothetically short it. And all you want to see for the rest of the day is these sellers show back up. And then hopefully by the end of the day, the sellers have put it back under neutral and price agrees. But right now, the bulls are in control of this. So if this breaks back out and starts to trend and you get a big move on candle, it's obviously not a short. It's a decent little indicator. I mean, just make sure you're mitigating risk, because no indicator is going to be 100% right on predicting price moves. And also it's kind of mixed on XRP as to who's been in control of price. I would argue there was a few days where the bulls were more aggressive, but it's not as clear as it is on Bitcoin. Like, Bitcoin has clearly been more bullish than bearish this week. So I know that I want to be a buyer close to the lows, but I want to do that also either at the Asian session open, the London session open, or the New York session open. I don't necessarily want to do it in the middle of the sessions. So that's why I bought Bitcoin today at the London session open. I just happened to be awake. I wasn't asleep at 3 a.m. So I was talking about hot dogs at 3 a.m. in the Discord. Boar's Head hot dogs, man. They blew me away. I bought a package of them from Publix the other day. Just blew me away. The best tasting hot dogs I have eaten in a long time, man. The sodium levels were on point. Just the texture, the pop, the chew, everything about the hot dog is phenomenal. I will never buy any other hot dog brand. Boar's Head all the way. They make an all beef frank too for anybody that can't eat pork products. I myself love pork and will continue to eat pork as I am a Gentile. Thank you, Aaron. I'm sold. Gonna have to find some of those Boar's Head. Yeah, they're good, man. They are good. Publix carries Boar's Head. Maybe Kroger does. Costco might. Boar's Head is, if I'm not mistaken, it's a nationwide meat company. Sandwich meat mostly, but yeah, they're fantastic. They're better than Ballpark or any of the. See, Nathan's for me are too salty, and like Nathan's hot dogs are good, but they're too salty for me. I like a mid salt level, but definitely good pop and snap when I chew. They're good sausages, good dogs. But yeah, very boring. I mean, it is what it is. Very boring. You're very much inside today. It's a trending candle because you took out yesterday's low. So today is more of a down day than it is an up day, for sure. But I mean, if you look at Monday's range and then Tuesday and now today, it doesn't feel as if though the bears are in control of this thing and running the gambit with the bulls, right? Like if you were a sports announcer and your job was to announce price, like you'd have a hard time selling that the bears are running this thing today. You know what I mean? But the same could be said for the upside too. It's just a very boring. You're not even under yesterday's low right now. Like, it's very boring. And the deltas are kind of confirming the boringness. Like, yeah, they're also sideways AF. Here's a day where the bears were in control of price. So like going into 9:30ish or earlier in the morning probably would have been more of a seller. I mean, we never really got an opportunity to take a short. So let's backtrack this and just show you real quick, since we're not doing anything else. Hang on, I gotta wait for the, there we go. So like if this is a normal day, you know what I mean, going into the normal day, we probably would have been sellers around here. On this next candle that opens, if we would have got a wick up above and then a failure, we probably would have been a seller, judging by those bearish deltas, judging by, you know, what price had been doing going into the day. It wouldn't have been a great trade because the low day or fresh low day target would have been right there. And the expansion already occurred. But if the expansion hadn't occurred yet, you'd be more of a seller. Boom. And on that candle, you would have taken profits. Essentially, that's what I'm using the deltas for. And vice versa over here. Friday, you'd have been a buyer. We were a buyer. No, Thursday we were a buyer, right? Thursday we bought. Why did we buy? Why were we looking to be a buyer on Thursday? Deltas are bullish, right? Up. Yesterday was a pullback. We liquidated the that day low, so we were looking to be a dip buyer. Somewhere around the lows, preferably this low. Didn't get there all the way, but you know what I mean? Deltas were bullish and trending bullish, so you're looking to buy the dip at 9:30. We did buy this. We did trade it to the upside on Thursday. It's just that trade I got stopped out of it on, we took profits and everything. It got stopped out on Sunday when it, so that's what I'm using the deltas for, just to kind of help with daily directional bias. It's not always 100% effective. Today, you would be more bearish than bullish judging by the deltas. And I told my community this morning if they wanted to sell, to watch 4-hour supply or, 4-hour res or the high of day and be a seller. Unfortunately, you haven't gotten a continuation move yet. So the buyers from the London session are still in the game, and the sellers have won the battle. So moving forward today, for the rest of the day, if the sellers can keep price under 74,541, I would argue that they have a chance to get the downside break still. You know what I mean? So you shouldn't see a move above this. It's just not a very big price target because you've already liquidated yesterday's low. So you would need at least a fresh day low. And that's not even a 1% move. So I can't even really, I can't justify the short. But if you get the breakdown, you take that out and then get a measured move, you will retest last week's res. And then that would be closer to a take profit level if you're short here. But it's still anybody's game. Anybody's game. Going by what Apple's doing, I still have more of a bullish bias on Bitcoin. Nvidia, what it's doing, what the SPY is doing, it kind of feels like the buyers are, for whatever reason, they're here. They're not aggressive. There really isn't any news items coming up this week. You had PPI on Tuesday, but I mean, it was a miss. They were forecasting a 1.1%. It did not get there, but it was the same as last month. And then nobody cares about China anything, or I don't, you know what I mean? And then there's really nothing on the docket for news this week. So I don't understand what's going on here, but for right now, the structure more bullish because you're still holding the weekly VWAP, but the sellers have it. If they want to take it, they can take it. It's like one of those scenarios. So I definitely want to see, if I was a seller, I'm not, but if I was, I would want to see this price respected, and so far it has been. That's what I'm saying. Like, there might be a short opportunity on Euro or XRP, maybe. XRP doesn't seem to be a short today, but this is the price to watch. If you get a lower close, it could still be a short. You kind of don't want to see this push any higher. And then if you just get a big breakout and close higher, then obviously shorts are going to get their stops ran. So it's basically just, where are the sellers? Where are the buyers? Who's winning? Who's losing? And today for Bitcoin, it's nobody. It's anybody's game still. Later on, Bitcoin could close up here today, or Bitcoin could close down here today. It's like, that's what we got. So it looks like the second part of the day, traders, they're going to basically dictate where this thing goes, as the New York session did nothing. The New York session, I would argue, tried to sell it, but they were so far unsuccessful. They might be successful later. It's anybody's game still. I will be stopped if it makes a fresh day low. I'll be out, and then I'll have to look to reposition maybe tomorrow. But we'll be live tomorrow for that. I kind of hope it doesn't do anything today. That would be fantastic if it closes as some random inside candle. It's not an inside candle. It is a trending candle. You've already taken out yesterday's low. So as of this point in time right now, you're a down trending candle with a lower high and a lower low. So the close will be hugely important for tomorrow's traders. As tomorrow's traders will have, tomorrow's longs will have a lot more to think about if it's down here. I would love to see last week's high respected, as it would show that, not only are the buyers here, but they defended this low, as this is a higher low, and they defended last week's low. If that could happen and Bitcoin could close up in here today, then when the Asia session rolls around, the buyers are going to have less work to do, or they might be more prone to be a dip buyer. And the same for the London session, as the New York bears tried to break it down today and couldn't. So tomorrow will be Thursday, right? And it's an up week, and last week's high held as support. So clearly Bitcoin is at least acting like it wants to close as an up weekly candle. So people that might be a short seller tomorrow could change their bias and become buyers. Every single day things change, and people take trading decisions based on that change. This is why, I'm such a strong proponent on just forget about fractals. I don't know why they use them, anybody, but I mean, if you have a solid trading system that you can prove with data that they work, then keep doing it. But if you're failing and you're using them, stop using them. That's my argument. If you're not yet profitable, stop using those, and maybe that helps. All right, we're going to wrap it up. I'm going to continue to watch the Euro to see if it does roll over. Obviously, I feel like if it does, then Bitcoin bears probably will win the day, but they haven't won the week yet, right? And then that's it. That's really all I'm watching. We could have been long on Apple this morning. That's the second time I missed a really good trade on Apple. There will not be a third. I wish I could say that with any confidence at all. Yeah, no, I can't, unfortunately, but I wish I could. Yeah, we missed a couple really good trades on Apple. And the reason we're looking at Apple is because we can trade it with a full-size position on weeks. We can't buy or sell more than 30 contracts of NVIDIA perps, and it's 40 on Tesla. With Apple, it's 220. So that means we can look for a 1.5% move on Tesla and make money. I mean, on Apple, sorry. If Apple gives us a 1.5% move, we'll make money on it because we can get a big enough position size in it to mess with it. That's why I've been talking about it a lot lately. And there are plenty of other stocks to trade now on the Weeks platform. I just haven't found the ones that offer, big enough position sizing to even make it worth the while. At NVIDIA, where the max is right now, it's just not worth it to trade it because you're not going to be, like I was in it. We called the original short on it a couple weeks back when it broke out here and failed right through here. We shorted NVIDIA this day, right? We actually was talking about the short on Friday, but we got stopped out of that one. But then we got it on Monday and it worked out flawlessly. It was an absolute beautiful fill, beautiful trade. We even got a big downside move and 2 or 3 days of continuation. But I was maxed out on the position size, and this entire move, it was only like up, the trade was up like $130. So I don't want to put that capital into an asset that isn't going to provide anything. So until the position sizing gets moved up on NVIDIA, we'll trade Apple. Apple is one of the tech leaders. Going by market cap, it is one of the big three. So, yeah, it's going to follow along with tech pretty decently. So we'll be able to scalp it here and there. We looked at it this morning. We didn't really, it was too late. The market had already opened and it already had a big floozy of a move. But that's a nice trending move there. That definitely would have paid the bills today. Bitcoin still might pay the bills. I'm hoping it does, but it's not looking great. All right, you guys have Hebrew Nationals are good. I have not tried those. Maybe I'll give them a shot as well. I like hot dogs, but I don't like all hot dogs. Obviously, I like some better than others. But I will definitely I'll pick up a pack of Hebrew Nationals. I've seen them at Publix. They're more of a nationally known brand. To be honest with you, the only reason I even bought Boar's Head is because I was watching YouTube the other day and a random video popped up on my feed, like which hot dogs to stay away from, which hot dogs to buy. And I watched the damn video, and Boar's Head was like top 4. And then the top 2, I didn't catch the name of. But yeah, that video was a pretty decent video, so I gave Boar's Head a shot. Boar's Head is the most expensive out of all of the brands they listed, though, at least at Publix. I think you can get ballpark hot dogs for like $6 a pack. Probably around the same for Nathan's and Hebrews, right? Oscar Mayer, all around the same pricing because it's like the same company that owns all of those companies now. But Boar's Head is it's more expensive than those at $11.99 for a pack of 7. They're pretty damn expensive, but the quality is there. They're yummy. All right, I'm going to wrap this up. You guys have a fantastic rest of your day. Make sure you guys trade safe. I'll see you in the morning. Make sure you trade smart. And as always, happy trading, everybody.